Hi guys, welcome to beautiful Idaho. My name is Nathan Mueller from Outdoor Auto, and today I'm going to show you some key overlanding protocols with the brand new 2025 Toyota 4Runner Trailhunter. This rig is off-road ready straight from the factory and is a great choice for overlanding with trail-ready Old Man Emu suspension that is designed to carry heavy loads in the backcountry, a great roof rack, 33-inch AT tires, 2400-watt inverter, and a built-in compressor. All standard on this Trailhunter grade. There are also over 100 approved accessories available from iconic partner companies like ARB, Dometic, and Yakima. So overlanding isn't only about off-roading. It's about enjoying the journey, it's about getting out in nature, and it's about pushing your limits. So on this trip, we're gonna be sharing one of overlanding's best kept secrets, the Sawtooth Mountain Range. We're gonna be seeing some amazing views, we're gonna be setting up camp, sharing tips and tricks along the way. So let's go. The British Army have an old adage that's called the 7 Ps. For today's audience, we're gonna go with 6 of them. It goes like this: proper planning and preparation prevent poor performance. And that's never been more true than with overlanding. And it starts with your gear. First off, we're gonna go over recovery gear and tools. One of the main things that you really need that can stop you dead on the tracks is a plug kit, patch kit for your tires. And then it's important that if you can plug a tire, you gotta be able to air the tire back up. So this has a built-in air compressor for doing that works phenomenal. You can reach all the tires, it's awesome. After that, you gotta worry about when you're getting stuck. So we have traction boards to be able to get out of mud and sand. We have an ARB kit here, and it has you fully equipped for pretty much everything you need for recovery. You have longer straps that you can use with winches for extenders. You have a tree saver strap, so if you're using a tree to get out, you don't damage the tree. And then you have your normal strap for towing. You also have things like snatch blocks for if you have to work with awkward angles. And then it even has some hard shackles in there as well. In addition to that, we like to bring soft shackles. Soft shackles tend to work best, and they also are very safe. In a worst case scenario, it's wise to bring a hand-operated winch. You're not gonna be using this every day, but they work awesome, especially if you're off-roading alone, so you don't get stranded. It's also important to have a good set of tools that are gonna work with your vehicle. There's also first aid. You know, tools for your truck, tools for your body. The other thing that you're gonna need is a battery jump pack. And I bring these just because my kids have a bad tendency to leave the lights on and kill the battery, so this can get you out if you're alone. Fuel is also kind of a big deal. So you're gonna study your maps, figure out how much fuel you need, and have a way to carry it. Probably one of the most important things for true emergencies is some kind of satellite device where you can contact help if you truly do get stranded and find yourself in a bad situation. And then finally, these are kind of the ones that are dependent on where you're traveling, but a good shovel helps out a lot in the snow and in the sand to dig yourself out if you're running into issues. And then if you're going anywhere where you have big trees, a chainsaw is critical. This is probably one of the tools I use the most often. I probably use it about 50% of the time that I go out. Okay, so let's talk about water. It's one of the most important things you need to be thinking about. The rule of thumb is about 2 gallons per day per person. If you don't have enough room to carry that much, then you're gonna also wanna think about how you can purify your own water with a water filter or water pills and things like that. As far as dry goods, I tend to like to keep my dry goods in a really simple, lightweight case that doesn't take up a ton of room. And then moving on to the 12-volt fridge. These have kind of been a game changer for overlanding and have allowed people to stay out a lot longer because you don't have to always be trying to find a place to get ice. The beautiful thing about this is this fits right in the back of the 4Runner, and the 4Runner already has a built-in 2400-watt plug that you can plug this into, so you're not gonna have to worry about doing any custom wiring. These are awesome, save you a ton of time on the road. Okay, so let's talk camp kitchen really quick. This is all the stuff that I cook with, but it all fits really nicely inside of here. This is a product from Yakima. It folds out. You have your whole kitchen in there. It actually has legs that it stands up on, so you can set it up in camp. It's awesome. The stuff that I put in here for cooking and cleaning is basically pots and pans. Don't forget a cutting board. Everybody forgets a cutting board. They come in super handy. This is all my utensils. In addition to that, I like a propane stove. Don't forget to bring extra fuel. This one's got 2 burners, which is awesome, so you can cook multiple things at a time if you want to get fancy. Cleanup is a pain if you don't have something to hold a lot of water. So this guy right here folds out and turns into a nice quick sink for you. Bring some good soap. So that's kind of my quick camping setup. Some people like to go more fancy. They bring barbecues and all that kind of stuff. And it really just comes down to how much room you have on your rig. Okay, so let's cover some creature comforts really quick. First of all, don't forget a good camp chair. You're gonna want a comfortable one. These ones are from ARB, super comfortable. Love those. You're also gonna want something comfortable to sleep in. A lot of people go with rooftop tents. We're going with a swag bag because we're trying to keep the real estate on the top open for like our Kamak awning and our Pelican cargo cases and even extra fuel because I don't want to keep that inside. So we're going with a rollout swag. This is a 2-person tent inside of here. It only weighs 30 pounds, so it's a lot lighter than a rooftop tent. I tend to store my clothes actually in these like packing cubes, and that fits really nicely in the Pelican cargo, along with maybe your recovery gear. A lot of people keep the recovery gear outside the vehicle so it's easy to access, especially if it gets muddy. Those cargo cases are totally waterproof, so they'll work whether you're driving in rain, sleet, snow, whatever. And then last, just make sure you bring a good sleeping bag. I tend to have one for the winter and also one for the summer just to stay comfortable, and that keeps you good and ready to go for whatever type of weather's out there. Okay, so we've covered the basic gear. I do recommend keep a journal when you go camping and keep a list of the gear that you use and you don't use so you can refine your kit over time. But enough about gear, let's go hit the trails. Now this factors into those 6 Ps that we were talking about. You really need to plan your trip ahead of time. You need to know the weather, you need to know the terrain, but you also need to know the distances that you're gonna travel so you can pack enough fuel. This new 4Runner is equipped with a 14-inch multimedia screen that has navigation, but you can also use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto with your favorite off-road trail apps. The most important thing to remember is you need to download your maps ahead of time. That way you can use them in offline mode when there's no more cell service and you can mirror them to your display. We're headed out to the Sawtooth Mountain Range. The beginning of this is just really easy paved road, but once we get up there, there are some beautiful lookouts and some amazing scenery that we'll share with you along the way. I can't express enough how important it is to have the right vehicle. Most important is you need a dependable 4-wheel drive. The reality is you can plan the perfect overland trip with groomed trails and a campsite at the end, but the problem is even those wash out sometimes, and that can leave you in a pretty sticky situation. Luckily, this new 4Runner Trailhunter has 4-wheel drive with a locking rear diff, which splits the power equally to those rear wheels when you're in more technical terrain. You also get a stabilizer bar disconnect mechanism to help the vehicle flex and keep the tires in contact with the ground. 9.6 inches of ground clearance, ARB's Old Man Emu 2.5-inch forged shocks, which help handle the weight of your overland gear as well as soak up the big bumps, 33-inch Toyo Open Country AT tires for better traction, and a low-profile, high-mount air intake that sources cleaner air for the iForce Max powertrain. Speaking of that powertrain, it has a Turbo 4 and is a performance-focused hybrid. It makes 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. You also get color-selectable rigid fog lamps and this 20-inch light bar to light up the trail at night. A multi-terrain select system for mud, dirt, and sand, and the coolest feature is the multi-terrain monitor system, which displays your tire position and steering input, as well as any potential hazards in your way. And finally, you want something reliable, and Toyota's the king of that. And if this isn't the best turnkey overlander you can buy right now, I don't know what is. Remember those sticky situations we were talking about? A lot of times when you're overlanding, you're gonna run into people that need help getting out. We have our recovery boards, so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing out. First thing you're gonna do is you take your recovery board, you can use it as a shovel if you don't have one. You gotta dig this out pretty good, so when they inch forward, the tire's gonna drop down on top of the recovery board. So you're gonna have to dig a little more than you think, usually. Do a decent amount of digging. And you actually wanna wedge it in as far as you can under the tire. It's okay if it gets stuck up in the air. Wedge it as much as you can. And then we got to do the same thing on the other side. All right, let's get this thing unstuck. All right, so the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is you wanna make sure you're in 4-wheel drive. We're all set here. So now we're going to ease real slow up onto the traction boards. And once you feel the grip, then you wanna use your acceleration to carry you through. Don't slow down, because at this point, we'll just sink in and get stuck again. And here we go. We made it back to solid ground. Now, if you get a truck stuck too deep for traction boards, or you need help getting pulled up a steep hill, it's time to pull out the tow rope. I like to use these soft shackles. They're a lot safer, and you don't need to know any special knots. Now, when you're connecting a recovery strap, it's really important to do this the right way. It's really easy on a 4Runner Trailhunter edition because they have recovery points on the front and rear of the vehicle already. When you hook these up, we're just gonna run it through these factory recovery points. We are going to open up this knot, connect the strap through, and then connect this choke knot. Beautiful thing about that knot, even when it gets tight, after the car is done, it's really, really easy to get it off again. Now, if you don't have this setup, the next best thing is a hitch-mounted recovery point. Those are really safe. As a last resort, you can also use where you hook your chain when you're towing. But the thing is, this is really sharp and abrasive. So after you do that, you want to check your gear to see if there's any kind of tears in it. And then the other thing is, you want to make sure everybody's a long ways away, so it's really safe. Okay, remember how I said some trucks don't have recovery points? Well, this one has nothing to work with down here. So we're gonna go ahead and connect the soft shackle around the lower control arm right here. When we pull this out, we're gonna pull straight forward to make sure we don't get into any of this stuff over here in the wheel. Now, just in case you were wondering, this is a static strap. It has no stretch. So we're gonna go really slow and get the strap nice and tight, and then just ease out of this. There's also kinetic ropes, and kinetic ropes stretch. So you actually get a little bit of a head start, and you use that stretching kinetic energy to pop the car out of the hole. Okay, so we've got this in 4-wheel drive, and now we're just gonna ease forward nice and slow to get this strap stretched out. I'm watching it in the camera, which is really nice. There we go. It's getting nice and tight. And as soon as we get going, he's going to apply gas, and we're gonna pull them out of the hole. There we go. Simple as that. All right, so that's how you get a normal vehicle unstuck, but I'm gonna show you how you get the all-new 4Runner Trailhunter unstuck. So this new 4Runner comes with a really amazing feature. It's called crawl control. It sends power to all 4 wheels as needed. All you have to do is put the car in gear, hit 4-wheel drive, and then you just hit this button and let it take over. When you're setting up camp, the most important thing is to keep everything comfortable. If you happen to have a rooftop tent, you really want your car to be level. If it's not, you're gonna be sliding around in your tent, running into each other all night. It's terrible, I promise. So what you do first, find the most level area you can, but it's never gonna be perfect. I like to use the traction boards to I set them up a lot of times on a rock, use them as a ramp to bring the low side up, and the 4Runner actually has a level built right in, and it'll tell you if you're perfect or not. All right, when you're leveling your vehicle, I like to use the Tread Pros. The biggest thing is if you're gonna use it as a ramp, stack 2 of them, then they don't bend as much. And yeah, we're just gonna drive up this a little bit and level it off. So the next thing I usually do is I set up a fire. In case I'm gonna be cooking on the fire or I have any food to thaw out, it'll be done by the time I set up camp. So these are those swag bags that are really popular with overlanders, but you wanna get them set up in the daylight. It's way easier. All right, so next up, I like to set up the kitchen. I always do it under an awning just in case some bad weather rolls in. This is the hammock that you can get with your Toyota. The first thing I generally do is get the stove set up so I can get water boiling. I like 2 burners. That tends to work best so your kids don't get mad if you cook too slow. This kind of has all your utensils. So you got your spatulas and spoons and knives. Don't forget salt and cooking oil. That's kind of a critical one. It gets lost a lot. You still have room for your cutting board on here so you can do all your prep. And then lastly, after you're done cooking, you got to do cleanup. So that's where we had all of this. Don't forget to bring like a brush or a scraper. That helps a lot with cleanup. And then the last thing is this cool little sink. Pops all the way out. You just go fill it up with water from the river and you're good to go. And that's it. Now that you have some good tips and tricks, and hopefully a desire to overland, it's time to get out there and explore. On this trip, we made it all the way out to the Wilderness Gateway, and we got to see some of the best backdrops that Idaho has to offer. But remember, there's an endless number of places to go in America, and some of them are probably right in your backyard. So whatever you do, make sure to pull over at those scenic outlooks, find those hidden gems. Remember that it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. I want to thank Toyota and AutoGuide for letting me borrow this 4Runner and take it on this trip. I hope you guys can get one as well and get out there and explore. Just remember, you need to tread lightly. That means using designated trails and designated campsites. If you need more information on that, check out treadlightly.org. So stay safe out there and like and subscribe for some more auto adventures.